Hi and welcome. I'm Diablo RDK, known on Reddit. Um, I had shown my beltless mega factory on Reddit recently, and somebody asked me for more details and a better look and a better explanation, possibly with commentary. So that's what I'm doing right now. Let's find the actual map, and here we go. Welcome to my beltless mega factory. Stuck behind some belts, or rather, no belts, because there are no belts. I obviously meant pipes. So, yeah, let's start with the unloading stations. Obviously, I have uh, separated these stations into copper and iron. Basic setup, I would say. I mean, we've seen this lots and lots of times with other builds, with other people. Um, Lots and lots of storage possibilities. Trains come and go as they please. Whenever they're full, they will arrive and unload their stuff. Nothing really special here. Every station does have two roboports just to make sure that there's enough loading stations around for the robots to get transport all the stuff and get charged up as fast as possible. By the way, I don't have nearly enough robots in the system. I have 1200 right now, which if I set the whole thing in motion, it is not even close to being enough to feed everything on time. Um, I'm also running out of actual raw materials. So whilst I was building this monstrosity, I needed some extra storage space, so that's what these boxes are for, because I was actually having all the trains running, and at that time I had still 8 unloading stations, so I got a lot of stuff coming in. So I now have 640 copper plates left and 380 iron plates left, but I was just over a million when it was all full because this entire area was filled with chests which were filled with plates. So continuing, I have one station for unloading stone and coal. I found that's more than enough to keep up with the demand. As well as I have one station for oil, which is also way more than I need for keeping up with demand as long as supplies last. Because that's one of the things I've noticed is supplies go really fast when you're building this kind of monster. Right, now on to the actual factory part. So the first thing I built was I started thinking about, well, what do you need a lot of? What do you need most? Besides obviously iron and copper plates. Well, gears and steel would be a first choice. So all these squares, by the way, all the same size. Um, I chose this size based purely on aesthetic. Um, Eventually, I made it all work and I made it all fit. But that was just a lucky guess. So no grand design in the size of it. I think it's 40 by 160 or something. I'm not sure. So steel, or sorry, gears. I'm making a lot of gears, or I have the possibility of making a lot of gears really fast. When I was setting this up, I was thinking, all right, I have all these factories and I have everything running. Um, but let's say I have, because now I have 1,000 gears in store. All right, so 1,000 gears for my entire factory to use. Let's say I don't want 1,000, I want to make sure that I always have 3,000 in store. So I thought, oh shit, now I'm going to have to change all these smart inserters to say, well, I want you to, keep going until there's X amount, because that's the way I had set it up. All these inserters kept inserting until the amount was reached, and then I stop inserting and just take everything out that's built. This way I also don't create a, store within all of these factories, which would skew the entire count, obviously, because they can all hold 100 of their respective item, which would mean I would have several thousand items more than the actual number would indicate in the system, which I didn't want. So I limited the input instead of the output, which, seemed smarter to me. But also I needed a way to, if I wanted to change the overall number of gears in the system, without having to go through every single smart inserter, I needed a better way. So I came up with this. I connected all of these passive provider chests and hooked them up to a combinator to count how many items were in these chests. Then I also said, well, I want to have an ability to set a single number for all of these inserters, so they all react the same way. So I put down a constant combinator, inserted a random signal, which then also gets read by the decider combinator. And it's a basic equation. When the amount of gear wheels in the passive provider chests is lower than the signal that I've set for it, or that I've set for A, it will output a 1 on B, basically saying to the inserters, when your B is bigger than 0, aka the 1 that it's outputting, start working, aka if I say I want 500 and there's not 500 gears, and there's not 500 gears in the system, they start working. If there's over 500 gears, they stop working. Fairly simple system, I know, but people are asking for details, so I'm giving details. This basic system I've used for all the other, where applicable, obviously, all the other stations as well. Just seems like an easy control scheme. So you notice that normally I would have a nice square of roboports, 3 on each side. Unfortunately, with this factory being almost to the edge of the square, the roboport wouldn't fit here. So that meant I had to figure a way out, to get everything connected again. So I just stuck some extra ones in here. Alright, moving on. Basically the same I did for, as I said, for steel. It's quite the same setup. Obviously these are furnaces and not factories, but the basic principle applies. You get a constant combinator, you get a decider combinator, and then it springs to life whenever it's lower than this signal. Moving on. Red chips. I decided not to actually create a separate factory for coils, or sorry, for copper wire. Basically because it gets created so fast by a single factory being able to feed multiple factories. I didn't think it worth it to have 1,000 or 2,000 cables in store, whereas I could, I would have to put them in the system, have them be picked up by robots, have them be flown over to the factory, put into requested chests, etc., 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 etc. Enunciate. Sorry. Meaning that would put an extra strain on the power system and on the available robots. So what I did was I incorporated wherever I needed them, I incorporated them into the design. Obviously, same design, same philosophy behind this. One constant combinator to, do the input signal for the amount that you want. requester chests, provider chests, basically the same layout, a little bit wider than the other one because, I had to incorporate the extra factory for copper wiring, but basically the same. With this design though, I had some extra room so I could just, stick to the standard 3 on each side for the port. Obviously all the different areas have their own train station. So now for the green chips, it was just 1 or 2 squares. I'm not quite sure. Too wide to put 2 of these rows in, and so I didn't, because I didn't want to change my design and I didn't want to, deal with the hassle of having to move everything up one just so I could fit one of these, where one extra row of these, where this one row provides more than enough green chips to feed everything all the time. Obviously, it's a mega factory, so I would want to go big, uh, but I felt this was neater. Um, Same design again. Requester chests for inputting, so I can limit the input. Output provider chests so they can drag it anywhere they want. Same, same, same. Now, the only question you might have is why not use one requester chest for both of these factories instead of having a requested chest for each separate factory, which means more flying of the robots, more, wasted potentially materials, because this holds 100 plates and this holds 100 plates, where if I would have one chest with 100 plates, they could both grab it and it would be filled fast enough for them to keep working. This is all true, but I thought this looked cooler. So, and in the end, that's what I care about most, building something that I think looks nice. Um, so that's why I did it this way. There's no particular reason other than I think it looks cool to have, requester, provider, requester, requester, provider, requester, requester, etc., etc., in a neat row like this. Moving on. Now, a little bit more interesting. Petrol station. This petrol station I kind of borrowed, if you might say. One of these squares I borrowed from a screenshot I found on Reddit once. This guy had this giant, enormous screenshot of his beltless factory that he built, or I think it was beltless anyway. And one tiny bit of it was this square, or at least a tiny bit that I saw on the screenshot was this square. And I thought it was so well thought out and so neat and tidy that I just started incorporating it into all my builds, because it's perfect. It's clean, it's infinitely expandable, and it produces petrol like no other. So that works like a charm. Obviously, for this mega factory build, to incorporate these roboports, I had to adjust it a little, go underground here, break up the nice square that it usually is. But I couldn't go outside of the walls because, well, I didn't want to. So I had to, find a way to make everything connect up and still have these roboports here. And they produce shit tons of petrol, because one of these setups usually does enough work for a normal factory to get the game going. So I thought I'd just put down 6. Why not? In fact, there's 2 more right at the end of this factory, but we'll see that later, because I slightly adjusted those. So this feeds then directly into the plastics factory, which again instead of being factories or smelters, they are now chemical plants, and basically with the same idea behind it. Um, inputting petrol all around, having everything facing inward, and outputting the plastics again into provider chests. Not much very special going on here. You know, same basic constant combinator and decider combinator setup as before. Uh, don't stand on the rail too long because you will get run over. Then, the only place that actually needs uh, sulfur is the sulfuric acid plant. So I incorporated that into a tiny square of my own design. Um, Unfortunately, I needed a bit more electricity than I had anticipated for, so that's why it's a little bit messy still. I'm still trying to figure out if I can make this a little bit neater. Unsure yet. Um, but this makes sulfuric acid and lots of it. Obviously with the petrol provided earlier. Then with the sulfuric acid we can make blue chips, same basic setup as before, passive requester and factories, only this time with sulfuric acid running through it. Continuing to batteries, same basic principle, square around a square around a square, with the combinator saying how much I want. Um, yeah, that's basically it. So this is the first part of the factory that is not as organized. This is just my first miscellaneous stuff build. Stuff that you won't need 1,000 or 2,000 or however much you need of stuff. You don't need as much of this stuff as you would normally with other stuff. So, power poles, you don't need a million of them. I mean, inserters, you need a million of them eventually, but you don't need a million of them in storage. So, these are just one-offs. This has a little smart system in it that actually keeps track of how many of the different colors are in the system, in this tiny system with these combinators, and then decides if it will produce normal inserters through to smart inserters or through to either one of these, depending on what's in the system. Yeah, this is just, as I said, miscellaneous stuff. These are the two extra um, plants that I use for lubricant. This is slightly altered to, instead of using the heavy fuel for fracking to lighter fuel, I used it to frack it to lubricant and then store it in a tank and then output it to wherever it's needed. Um, Obviously, all the excess petrol then gets pumped back into the larger system. So it still produces a lot of petrol, just not as much as the other one, but enough. It helps the other factory bits, and the lubricant that is produced here is way more than I need for these, because lubricant doesn't get used much, so it's way more than enough for these parts right here. I know I'm producing the irony. I understand the irony of producing belts in a beltless mega factory, um, but I still use them sometimes for um, mining and mining sites and that kind of stuff. It's not as much anymore because most of my mines are now beltless as well. Because it just plunked down a bunch of roboports and a shit ton of robots, and have them carry them to the train stations and have it done that way. It's easier anyway than putting down all the belts. But I wouldn't feel right not building actual belts because they are part of the they're a main part of the game, especially in the beginning. Um, Here we have oop, there's my supply train. Second miscellaneous part, because, it was getting a bit crowded there, so I thought, leave that middle part open. Um, you know, Solar panels, pipes, rails, mining equipment, anything you would need. Obviously, a robot station to input robots. I used to import robots directly into the roboport so I could, you know, have it grow nice and big. And but it grew a little out of hand, and I needed robots elsewhere, and I needed an easy way to, request and pick up robots if I needed them for mining stations or whatever. So I thought, fuck it, won't put them directly in. I'll put them into the chests instead. Lasers, obviously boxes, lots and lots and lots of boxes, chests everywhere, which need to get built somewhere. This is the last part of the factory. This is my trash sorting system. I also borrowed, let's say, this design from, this is way too complicated for me. This is so much way too complicated for me to build. I don't understand the logic behind this, if I'm honest. But this is a trash sorting system, and this is the only actual storage chest in the game. Meaning that, due to the how the robots work, if you put something in your trash in your character, this is the only actual place they can dump it. So they will pick it up and put it into the system. So here I go, I put it in, and the system just checks, is it there, is it there, is it there, is it there? No, oh, but it's there, so I'll put them in there. And that's the way it sorts trash. It has this constant combinator that you can use to say how many different items per chest you want. Um, I just put it at 1 because I think it's easier to have just one item per chest. This is why I have so many. I will never ever use all of these, obviously, but I just thought it looked great to have a ginormous, trash sorting system. Um, Again, it's purely my aesthetics. It's purely that I think this looks neat. No other reason. I do love this system though. I got this from Factorio Blueprints.com. Some guy made it. He made it. He actually made it with steel chests. So all of these were steel chests. But because of, with 0.13 coming up and steel chests are, leaving the game, I thought I would be ahead of the curve and, get these steel chests exchanged for actually stuff that's still in the game after the new patch comes out. And I decided, I might as well put in requested chest for this one, so nothing can be put in, but also nothing can be put out, because this system does have the tendency, if you don't have enough storage, that it will just leave it in here, obviously. But I still wanted a way to, get all the stuff that is in here out if I request it, so I made these into passive chests. You might notice there is a rocket base within the sorting area, within the trash sorting area. I don't actually build rockets. I am requesting via requested chest the proper stuff for it, but I don't actually build rockets. I don't, the game for me is not about building rockets. It's about building good systems and nice looking systems, and it's about building and not about launching rockets. But that's just for me. I see lots of people who do the one rocket per minute challenge and that kind of stuff, and I love to look at it. Definitely, I think it's very cool to look at it, but not for me. I maybe in future I'll add on a bit where these parts get made and I can launch a rocket, or at least have one ready to go. It might look a little bit neater, but for now I thought, well, might as well. I had all my research done, obviously, so I thought might as well put a rocket silo there. Maybe in future. So that's basically the gist of my of my mega beltless factory. I do. I would like to show you, if I may. I'll just steal this train. Oop. Cool. I would like to show you my power supply, because this entire thing gets powered by a ginormous power supply. Again, also this power supply is built because I, like the way it looks, not really because it's the most efficient or the best way to build it. So I'll just zoom out a little. Get out of the train first. Ooh, that's a lot of noise. So, not entirely finished yet, but this is basically the way I, build my power lines. It's a basic square, there's another beltless mining area. Yeah, they're basically built up of these. Well, for everyone that plays a little Factorio, very familiar, solar squares with a pole in the middle and poles to connect everything up. I just like the look of the wires going everywhere like this. It's an aesthetic thing. Again, I build for aesthetics, the way I like to see things. Not always, mostly efficiently as well, but not always. So yeah, that was my factory and the explanation of it. I hope you enjoyed it. You are obviously free to like or dislike this video if you want to. By the way, this is the factory that started it all. The old unloading station, petrochemical area, burner area, smelting I should say, and then a little bit of steel, and yeah, my research lab with the different kinds of research collars being made, a little tiny module area, all the little bits that you need. This pyramid, I love this pyramid for chips. It's such a good design. This is also something I borrowed off online, because it's just such a smart design and it looks so good. So yeah, this is the factory that started the whole damn thing. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I will. I know I forgot to turn on the comments in the last on the last video, so no one could actually comment on the video. I will turn them on for this one. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you didn't enjoy it. I don't, all opinions matter. So I'll just say thank you for watching, and yeah, let me know if you want more, or if you would like to see me build something else. Thank you. Bye bye.